102 takes and still rejected. This is the song that typifies George Harrison's time in the Beatles. Despite their laid-back and open attitude, Paul McCartney and John Lennon were two of the most driven artists in history. McCartney and Lennon were both open-minded and fiercely uncompromising, which meant that George Harrison was both deeply involved and dominated. And that's a paradox that is typified no better than in his unreleased Beatles song. So come the late 1960s, without any impending tours, flushed with unlimited expenses, and George Martin pretty much working as their own personal producer, the Fab Four found themselves in favourable circumstances to try and figure out the sound of the future. Being able to utilise some of these groundbreaking advancements in music technology in those later years, the Beatles began pushing what sounds, styles and symphonies could come out of a traditional rock band. But this newfound freedom within the studio also allowed for a certain amount of malaise to creep into proceedings. On songs like Maxwell's Silver Hammer, Paul McCartney began to impart an exacting perfectionism over his compositions, leading to some pushback from his bandmates who bemoaned his attempts to polish songs that they could barely stand in the first place. In fact, on a song dealing with guilt and pointed fingers, George Harrison embarked on a grueling amount of refinement for a song that didn't even end up on any Beatles album. During the Beatles' White Album, Harrison presented a new contribution that dealt directly with the ill feelings of the band after they returned from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi's retreat in Rishikesh, India. While the full band denounced Maharishi upon the revealings of his predatory behaviour, Harrison felt a sense of isolation still, particularly from how the band were treating him with regards to his spiritualism and association with the Eastern leader. And so he wrote a song that didn't criticise the Maharishi himself, but rather the way the band members were treating him as a result of their dalliance with the Maharishi. The song Not Guilty is a stinging and defensive rebuke to his bandmates' recrimination, and it sees Harrison defiantly standing up for himself both inside and outside the band. But at the same time, the song was indicative about a more significant issue for Harrison, about where he stood within the group dynamics. Despite his desire not to upset the apple cart, Harrison spent 2 days trying to get his bandmates to learn the song, eventually utilising 102 takes, the most numerical attempts at a song ever recorded at a Beatles session. Still, he felt somewhat frustrated that his own songs weren't being given a fair crack. And only about 20 of these were actually complete takes of the song, but the amount of time it took fleshing out the ideas was indicative of the ambivalence that McCartney and Lennon started to feel towards learning and even putting a bit of time into Harrison's ideas. Harrison had managed to pull together a workable backing track on the 102nd take, and the song received a proper edit and mixdown before being determined to be finished. But Harrison received another blow when the band assembled the track listing. Not Guilty was not included. Songs like Wild Honey Pie, Why Don't We Do It in the Road and Revolution 9 were included, but Harrison's labour-intensive effort was not. The reason why Not Guilty was left off the final cut remains disputed. The track was obviously a solid musical addition, having made it to the final discussions of track assembly. Harrison and George Martin apparently favoured its inclusion, but McCartney and Lennon allegedly were unhappy with airing the band's dirty laundry in public. There were also whispers that the two wanted Harrison to have a few contributions to the album. With 4 songs already approved, it seems that 5 was one step too far for Lennon and McCartney, and so Harrison was consigned to having one track on each side of the White Album. The song did make it to the world though in 1978 when Harrison was helping to produce the parody movie The Ruttles' All You Need Is Cash, and was happily indulging in the dissection of his mythical former band. It was then that Harrison recalled Not Guilty in all its searing honesty and decided to re-record the song for his self-titled album. This version is calmer and more relaxed, with a certain contentment revealing itself to replace the initial discourse that birthed the song. Perhaps it was too fragile for the rigours of the Fab Four at the time all along.